Hi, this is Dan Elder from Kidasa Software. I'm here to talk about the Tools tab and some common program options in Milestones Professional. In the Tools tab, you can see the Program Options section a little bit to the left. It has about 6 buttons. Each of these buttons is going to open up the program options for whatever you click on. So I'm going to click on Folders, and you can see the Folders options pop up, and each of these tabs is actually the same thing as just pressing these buttons. So all these buttons kind of open up the same window, just to a different tab. So I'm just going to go left to right here. Starting with the Folders tab, you can kind of set some default locations for your folders. So you can see Charts is currently just set to my Documents folder. If you have a different folder where you save all of your milestone schedules, you might want to just change this folder to whatever that folder is. That way when you open or start saving, it'll just kind of set that as the default location. Same thing with importing. I've got all my project files that I'm going to import in this project directory here, just as another example. So moving on to the General tab here, we do have an option to have the toolbar on the left side of the schedule, so you will have to restart Milestones to see that, but you can choose that option right there and see how that looks. Sometimes you will have to adjust the toolbar height. If you can't see, the bottom of the toolbar for whatever reason, you might need to press this adjust toolbar height and adjust that and see if you can fix the problem. Usually you don't have to mess with that. Then you've also got these roll-up indicator options down here, so you can change the color, the size, the type. So right now it's red with down triangles, but you could change these to like plus, minus. And that's if you go to the View tab and turn on Collapse Expand Indicators. That's going to let you, collapse down certain outline levels and so on. And you can tell there's a lot of other options. I'm not really going to go through each individual option, just kind of the most common options of each of these tabs. Moving over to the Files/Automation tab. So the big thing on the top right is the autosave frequency. If you want to increase this, if your computer ever crashes or anything like that, it'll have a autosave. So next time you load Milestones, it'll let you, reload that autosave. It doesn't actually, replace your current file. It just kind of saves a temporary file. So if you want to set that, you can set that right here. This button right here, Run Rerageexe. Sometimes if you have a problem with Milestones not opening files correctly or just some other problem related to, Microsoft projects, sometimes we'll ask you to run this. You will need, admin access, but generally you don't have to run it unless you run into a problem and we tell you through support to kind of run that. You also have this option right here, Enable Automation Tag Editing. If you uncheck this, you can kind of lock the automation tags, connected to Project or Primavera. That way nobody can go in and modify those, but you will need to come back here and, check that if you want to actually modify those later. Moving on to the Help tab. On the Help tab, you have an option to display tooltips. So in this case, I have it set to entire screen, and you can also say expanded symbol hover information display. If you check that, then you can hover over symbols on your schedule and see a lot of information, including the automation tag and everything like that. So that's pretty much what the Help tab does. Moving on to the Dates tab. On the Dates tab, we have a couple options that are pretty useful. So lock symbol to date when copying or moving line to line. If you hold Shift and click and drag on a symbol, you can actually move it to a different row. But the date will be set wherever your mouse is, unless you have this option checked right here. So then if you had, a symbol on August 30th and then you moved it to some other row, it'll just stay locked to August 30th of that same year. Again, that's holding Shift and click and drag with your mouse. And you can also hold Control if you want to copy that symbol to another row. Another cool option here is taking out the time separator. That way you can convert 24-hour time to military time if you want to display that on your schedule. Moving on to the Edit tab. And the Edit tab is where a lot of useful options are, and I'm going to be covering quite a bit of them compared to the other tabs. So the first one on the top is this multiple undos capability. So we added multiple undo a few versions ago, and you can actually set like how many undos it saves. right here. We also have this option here, which is useful if you have a really dense schedule with hundreds of rows. You can turn off allow task row height adjustments. That way your mouse doesn't turn into the little height adjustment icon when you're between rows. Another useful option is use anti-aliasing to smooth lines and circles on screen. If you've got any curved, symbols or circles or anything like that, it'll make them look a lot nicer, as well as some of the other lines on the schedule. This doesn't affect printing or going to PowerPoint or PDF or anything. It's only for displaying inside milestones, just making it look nicer while you're working on it. As far as printing, we do have a lot of options kind of related to printing, so if you're having issues with printing, you might want to check out some of these options. I'm not going to go through all of them individually, but this tab is kind of where those printing options are. You can also change what the tab key does. Right here, you've got 4 options, so whenever you press it by default, it's going to change the outline level of that whole row, but you can see there's 3 other options right there. You've also got the option to change from a standard toolbar font size to a large toolbar font size. It should make these options a little bit easier to read in the toolbar. And another big option here in the Edit tab is the vertical spacing %. So this could be anywhere between 10 to 300. 100 just represents a normal bar or symbol size. So like this triangle, that's like a normal symbol size, and these bars are a normal symbol height. So if you set this to 100, then every time you move a bar or symbol vertically within that same row, it would move exactly, one of these bars up or down. But you can change this. So if you're using smaller bars or smaller symbols, you can change this value. So if I change it to 40%, then every time I hold Shift and press up or down on the keyboard for that start symbol, it'll move it only 40% of the way. So then you can kind of use more of that space inside each row. So if you're doing like a kind of a crowded swim lane, that would work pretty good. And that's pretty much it for those program options. There are a lot of other options that I didn't really cover, but we do have the Help tab, which should go over each of these options in more detail. But those are some of the more popular options that I've seen while I've been doing trainings and stuff like that. Anyway, if you have any questions, you can email support@kidasa.com, and be sure to visit our website at kidasa.com. Have a nice day.